Buddy, good morning. Good morning. It is Thursday morning, September the 19th. Rise and shine, rise and shine. It's 8:01 in the AM. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather, and hopefully getting your day started off on the right note. Had some storms, not at my house, but like if you live along the East Coast, we had some storms last night. It was nasty. Whether you were just getting clobbered with the rain, the lightning was like mind-numbing. And then, of course, there were several severe thunderstorm warnings, so we had some significant wind gusts, and there was even one tornado warning in Volusia County. Really glad to say I've not seen any reports of damage. The good folks over at the National Weather Service doing yeoman's work updating that. And even the folks over at the Daytona International Airport working in conjunction, they reported a funnel cloud from that storm, which kind of had everybody watching it even closer. That led to that tornado warning. Thankfully, all is well that ends well. Not hearing of any damage or injuries, so certainly love that. And this morning, as I was driving home, even saw some thickening, rising cloud tops. So there are some storms out there, just not here. Downtown Orlando. How pretty is that? Like, seriously. Little bit of haze. Otherwise, we're doing fine. Let's head over to the Orlando International Airport. Tower cam there, looking fantastic. Kennedy Space Center knocking on the door, looking good. Yep, yep. You got, of course, Launch Complex 39A there on the left-hand side. No Falcon 9. That's Starship. Well, that's going to be Starship. And you got even, was that Chopzilla or whatever they call it? To catch the thing. Man, that's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, down to Port Canaveral, see what's doing there this morning. From Rusty's over at the port. I don't see any cruise ships in there. Probably going to be a quieter day at the port, but it'll get busy. What is today? Today's Thursday. Tomorrow, what? Tomorrow, Utopia comes back. A couple of the others come back. Let's head up to Ocala, see what's doing there. Yeah, some clouds around. It's a beautiful morning. I hope you're having a great morning where you live. Let's pop up our first warning live Doppler radar. Get an idea of what's going on. Give the computer a second to think. All right, there we are. So in our area, all is quiet. I saw those clouds building. It's all of this stuff down here just southwest of the Orlando Metro. Some heavy stuff out around Zephyr Hills, making some fresh water. They use spring, as I'm just kidding. But nevertheless, there's that. Our velocity, not looking at anything too strong. Tampa's velocity, nothing too strong there, but some good little rains around. Temperatures out the door, 72 degrees, y'all. It's room temperature in some spots. Daytona Beach, you're just above it, but to land, I see 72. Not too bad. All right, here's our forecast today. Look at that. A lower coverage of showers and thunder showers. Love that for us, right? 30% coverage of rain today. Who gets the rain? Let's take a look, shall we? Rain coverage really wants to push back to the east. So, for example, Brevard County, you had storms last night. You've got the highest chance of seeing some rain today, right? Let's dial up our Futurecast model. See where we're at. Yep, this morning's looking good. Picking up on some of that coastal stuff on the west coast. 1, 2, 3. Popcorning up a little bit of rainfall for you. I'll bring it full screen for you. 4, 5. Yeah, a couple of storms around. You can see where Brevard County has the most moisture, the most instability. So that makes sense. And then what? 7, 8 o'clock. Maybe a little bit of rain. Futurecast wants to do the rain in Orlando, but it didn't really do much yesterday. We'll see. We'll see how that works. At any rate, it's not looking like a bad day. So if you're heading out to Disney, for example, today, heading out there, it's all decked out for fall. I've not been out. Probably need to try and get out this weekend or something. But yeah, it's looking like a nice day, right? Jewel over on YouTube, can this storm miss Tampa because it looks more like a western? We'll talk tropics in a minute. But that's kind of where we're at for today. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Let's look at our 7-day. I want to spend most of our time, yes, talking about the tropics. So here's our 7-day forecast. We've got a really nice stretch next couple of days. 20, 30% coverage of rain. We're still going to have some rain. it's just not going to be as widespread, right? Fall begins, and while the temperatures may not be taking a dive, the pattern is adjusting. We went from such crummy weather for a couple of weeks to some really nice stuff. So I love this. All right. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Otherwise, yes, we can get to our tropical update and spend a lot of time talking about the tropics. I'll give everybody a few seconds. Going once. Going twice. How we doing, everybody? All right. Sounds good. All right. Diane says, I feel like humidity's down a little bit. My sliding glass door isn't coated with moisture. Yeah, I mean, it might be. If it is, it's super subtle. The muggy meter this morning is at a humid. So that's kind of where we're at. Not really expecting much adjustment the next couple of days. Michelle, good morning. Janice, sold. Okay. All right, my friends, let's talk about the tropics. First off, the hype machine, I'm going to sit back for a minute. The hype machine is in full effect. So I want everybody to do this. I want everybody to take a minute, pop your fingers, pop your neck, take a sip of coffee. Okay? We live in paradise. We live surrounded on three sides by water. So we have to track the tropics. But just because models are starting to talk does not mean we need to be freaking out. Okay? That's first. Second, peak of hurricane season. I've lived in Florida my entire life. We've gotten hit sometimes, we haven't gotten hit other times, and it's still okay. All right? So let's take a look and see where we're at right now. We've got the remnants of Gordon. Otherwise, there are no named systems. Okay, and Gordon's not a named system. It actually has a diminishing opportunity for developing. So I show the wide shot just to say there are a few areas, the remnants of Gordon, and then this other little thing with a low end chance of formation. We're going to spend most of our time, though, today talking about this area here, because clearly that's the one closest to us. Clearly, that's the one we'll have to watch. Now, satellite imagery out of the Caribbean. There's really not much doing, okay? So, first thing to notice, there's nothing to track. The sheer fact that computer models are able to give us any kind of a prognostication on an area that hasn't even formed yet is pretty flippin' cool. But we have to understand, until it forms, there's nothing for the computer models to check the math, okay? So, based on the data, the way that we are able to get this information now, which is remarkable, there is a medium chance from the National Hurricane Center over the next 7 days. And we've talked about this for, what, a week at this point? Okay, a couple of things to understand. Couple of things here. First off, right now, as confidence grows, that number will go, and it will continue to probably rise, as basically all of the global models are showing it. Now, we do not have tropical models that we can run on this because nothing is there. What we can do, however, is we can look at the global models and kind of get an idea of what they're saying, okay? And so this is a graphic that kind of just illustrates the global models, where we think things would develop and where the global models are trying to take it. I need you to understand they are all over the place, and not just in development location, but also like in where it goes. You know, you've got European doing this. You've got in green the GFS kind of across the Yucatan and then looping back around. You've got the Icon model going like toward Mexico. The Canadian kind of whoop-de-doing around. The European AI model kind of doing the GFS thing a little bit. The sheer fact is, basically the models are saying, well, we think something's going to develop, but it could move from Mexico to Florida. And that should give you enough of an idea that we can't forecast where this is going yet to understand we don't need to panic. Now, lots of people on the internet are like, Category 6 is going to get, wait, full screen. Got to do this. A Category 6 is coming to get. It's not. Shh. 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 That's a mess. Remember, when it comes to computer models, consistency breeds confidence. And y'all, there ain't no consistency on those model plots, even from model run to model run, okay? Now, this is Coffee Talk. We have a promise to each other that we're going to go over everything in a no hype manner, and we're going to chat about everything in a no hype manner. So I'm going to give you all the data, but I just need y'all to understand. I even wrote it on the graphic. I was like, nothing has formed. Model data should be taken loosely. If you could think of a more economical verbiage to write there, then give it to me. Because at this point in time, the whole purpose of this is like, y'all, something's going to form. We just don't know where it's going to go. Weatherman Plus loves to hype hurricanes up. I've never even heard of Weatherman Plus. But yeah, the thing is, and I say this all the time, I will work hard to earn your trust. I will work harder to keep your trust, because it's one thing to get you to trust, right? It's a little easier. I think it's harder to keep trust. And I will do my darndest to do that for you. Okay? All right. So this is the 6E, the most recent run of the American GFS model. Pressures are lowering, cagging. There it is. 1,000 millibar low near the Yucatan Peninsula. And then we're crossing the Yucatan, really blowing up, and then moving into the Panhandle as a 958 millibar low. Something like that. Okay? Jamie says, so basically it's nothing. We don't know where it's going and when it's going to get wherever. I think we should start doing that with tornadoes in the Midwest 2 weeks prior. Yeah. All right. It's funny how some of them are talking about how hurricanes are getting worse and worse during a very calm season. Yeah, I mean, I can't control the hype. Also, by the way, notice on like the right side of your screen there, like the GFS is blowing up a couple of different areas, but we're obviously not paying as close attention to the open Atlantic stuff because it's a little closer. So anyway, the GFS model blowing up a big nasty hurricane, bringing it into like the Florida Panhandle. All right, so there's that. All right. That's one run of one model. We go back, this is the 6Z, we go back to the 0Z, and it takes a different trajectory, but kind of goes the same-ish direction. Kind of goes due north and then makes a hard right turn into the Panhandle. That's one model run ago. We go back 2 model runs ago because, again, consistency breeds confidence. Operational GFS. This is the 18Z run. Nasty storm into Louisiana. Go back 3 model runs. And it was weaker into like the Big Bend. All right, so basically what I'm seeing from the GFS is it's gotten a consistency to it that there's going to be a storm developing. That's all I'm taking from the GFS, okay? And as Chris mentions and reiterates what we always like to say, computer models are guidance, not gospel. Okay? We good? All right, that's the GFS. Let's look at the GFS ensembles. For those of you that are new, there's 1,000 people in here today, so it's worth at least mentioning. For those of you that are new, an ensemble plot is essentially taking the GFS and running it 30 different ways. Each ensemble has a different math equation, and you can kind of see some of them have like a big green dot. That would be it, trying to put a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, we can look at it individually like that, or what I like to do is just put it on top of itself. So you're looking at 30 different models on top of itself. So there's development around Tuesday of next week. And then you can see all of those ensemble members. And it looks like a vast majority. It looks like essentially the window is like Florida to Louisiana, according to the GFS. All right? So that's kind of where the GFS is. We're still pretty far out. We do not. There's growing confidence in something developing. That's about where we're at, okay? All right. Before I move on to any other models, let's chat. All right. Oliver says it's like Joe Friday. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. That's it. I'll give you data. I'll give you perspective. We can chat. But what I do not want to do is I do not want to freak you out. And what I really want to do is I really want you to read through the noise. You know what I mean? I'm going to take the cheap marketing shot and say, feel free to share this with your friends and family if anybody's interested in like decent tropical stuff. Again, you don't necessarily have to live in central. We focus on Central Florida, obviously, because that's where I'm based. But, you know, if anybody's a weather nerd, especially during hurricane season, this is not a bad spot to nerd out about weather and tropics on a broader scale. Betsy says, love the way you're unique. Oh, thank you very much. You're too sweet. I appreciate that. Frank says, I think this is going to hit the Florida panhandle where you had a hot spot. Well, we'll see. Yeah. I don't want this to hit anybody. You know what I mean? Matt says, finish the 00Z all the way out. Okay, Matt. GFS. Pressure. Normalized anomaly. Matt says finish the 00Z because at the very end, it's just nasty. I mean, what is that, a 950 millibar low? And then 963. Yeah, I mean, that's a nasty storm. Matt's just saying that because it's like 115, 126 mile per hour. That's 126 mile per hour. Yeah. So, you know, again, some models are going to be stronger than others. All right. All right. Let's turn this around. And yeah, the European, I'll have you note pressure, normalized anomaly. All right. It's at least a CAT 17. Here's the European. Remember, 6Z does not go out but 90 hours, so we don't really have much of anything on the 6Z. So what I can do is I'll go back to the 0Z and go out further. And it's got like a sloppy area of low pressure in the Yucatan and Bay of Campeche there. And then starting at the very end here, like 240 hours, trying to deepen a low. And then afterward, if we go to the control, if we go to the 0Z, it would deepen that and swirl it over toward like the Rio Grande area by the 3rd of October. So that's the European. If we look at the European ensembles, starting to see some indications of formation in there again. You can very clearly see. The Europeans a little more all over the Gulf, though. You know, there's no like definitive. It looks like the vast majority of them want to be like Louisiana to Florida, Big Bend. We know that in the long range cycling, this is the Debbie part of the pattern. So there is some credence to that window. That's what we highlighted. Diane says 1,000. Great. Welcome. But please don't panic. This is a no hype, no panic zone. That's right. No hype. I'm not going to hype it. Ugh. All right. No, Taylor, it's not time to do that. All right. So that's kind of where the Euro ensembles are at. Let's look at the European AI model. And admittedly, I'll say it's a new model. Don't really know what to make of it yet. But interestingly enough, this model, so current run, this is the 0Z. If you notice, it's bringing it across the Yucatan, trying to hang out, and then it like fires something else up, like right around the Florida west coast there, around October 1st, and then it kind of peters it out. If we go back to the 18Z, it was like a Louisiana deal. If we go back to the 12Z, it was like a Florida Panhandle Mobile type deal. Go back again. So the European AI models kind of back and forth and back and forth. Canadian model. Most recent run is the 0Z. Firing up. I will say the interesting thing about the Canadian model is it's been very consistent here. Um, Panhandle, we go back a run. Panhandle, go back a run. Panhandle, Big Bend. So it's been pretty consistent. If we look at the Canadian ensembles, bubbling up, and I mean it's most everything is like Texas Louisiana border over to like the Florida um, West Coast. There's a couple members even on the East Coast there. So, but you can clearly see the hot zone there, right? So look, there's a lot to watch with this. But again, if we just bubble it down to there's your global models, they're still a little all over the place. Okay, so it's just a little too early um, to kind of see where we're at here. Okay. I will say this, and I built this timeline yesterday, and hopefully this kind of gives you an idea. All right. So the next couple of days, those computer models are absolutely left and right, and they're going to be windshield wipering, and that's what it is, right? But around Sunday, Monday, that's when we're going to start to see some lowering of pressure. That's when the models should start to jump in and figure this out and at least try to think and try to think and try to think. And then from there, by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to be observing stuff. So that's kind of our timeline there. All right. Next week, it works into the Gulf. Anywhere from mid to late next week is when it will be, probably bubbling, 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 bubbling. All right. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. Okay. But right now, at the moment, again, there is nothing at all showing up. Okay? All right. Now I'm done with the analysis mode. Now let's chat. What do you have? What are your questions? What are your comments? What are your concerns? I gotcha. Belanep on YouTube. Could be something, could be nothing. Correct. Absolutely right. Yep. Do you think we'll come to Florida the 28th? Destiny's asking. Too early to tell. And that's not me being a putz. It's just the reality. What makes the deterministic run as opposed to another ensemble member? That's a good point. So, Beth, essentially, the way that it works is all of the effort is put into the deterministic run. Mathematically speaking, that's the GFS, that's the Euro, that's the whatever the case may be, right? That's what we're looking at here. These are the different deterministic runs. After that runs, then these sub-ensemble members take that data and say, all right, cool. But let's change atmospherics a little bit. Let's change some of the math. And then they're halfways, if that makes sense. So that's where the global models, the deterministic and ensemble members, it's based, you know what it's like? I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. Like you make a meatloaf and it's just so good. And then you're like, oh, I got to share with the rest of the class. So then you're like, all right, I'm going to take the same recipe and I'm going to really stretch it out and try and sublet it out. That's kind of is that a good analogy? I don't even know if that's a good analogy or not. I don't know. Can you please talk about timing? I think I just did. I think I did just now. So there's that. Talk about, let's see here. Can you show ensembles again? Oh, Brandon, yeah, I mean, I can. I showed them a bunch. Which ones, right? Like GFS ensembles. Again, it's each model is pretty. There's really good ensemble consistency for development. We don't have consistency on like where they will go. Deborah says it's amazing how you can predict something from nothing that is formed. Dude, right? Like to me, that's amazing. That's truly, truly amazing. At least to me. It could be, I could be a minority in it, but the fact that like there's nothing that is formed And yet we're still sitting here able to have this conversation is wild. Nerd question. Noah's Dvorak current intensity chart has different millibar pressure measures for wind speed correlation between Atlantic and Pacific. Just curious as to why that is. Um, it could be the way that it's read on different angles of satellites, calibration. Yeah, I don't know the full on answer to that, Matt. It could also just be that if memory serves, now that I'm thinking about it, I just think that the pressures line up differently in the different basins. There's different atmospherics to it. So yeah, Chris was good. Yeah, yeah, it was good. Good flight. Go to the 00Z GFS 360 hours. What else is there? That's, if we're looking for like a bad frame or something, you want the operational GFS at the very end of the 0Z. What am I looking at here? 360 hour. I agree. Got it. Okay. Something else. Got it. Cool. That's a weird trajectory, honestly. All right. So maybe something else. We'll see. Is that showing up on any of the other runs? 6Z. I mean, yeah. All right. Something else. It's, it's always something. Yeah. Can you explain ACE? Yeah, it's just ACE stands for accumulated cyclonic energy. So as a storm forms, it generates ACE. The weaker it is, but the bigger it gets, the stronger it is. It generates more ACE per hour per day. So that's it. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. You could use anything, but you used meatloaf. What are you gonna do? Let's see here. These models only show pressure. Do they show precipitation, wind, or any other factors? Yeah. So Gisello's asking if the models show things. Yeah, they show all different pieces of the pie. At this point in time, I just don't think that it's prudent to discuss that because it is what it is. We don't have anything that has developed yet, so it's just trash at that point. You know, and I would 100% support the idea of you becoming a professor in school for meteorology. I would only then go back to school and get a degree. Oh, well, thank you very much. That would be fun. I just, I don't have the time, man. These kids, parents know any free moment you have is with the kids. And the only time I fly is either with the kids or on a day off that I have where they're in school. That's all. You know what I mean? Modest lady says, "Can you please answer my question?" But see, I read that. I didn't see your question, so I apologize. Yeah, so I don't see what your question is. Oh, you're asking, will Tallahassee be impacted? Got it. Okay, thank you. So you did ask your question again. It's too early to tell. Yeah, that's a good question. The global models should show they're just all over the place. And so until something forms, we just have no idea of knowing. There's nothing that's even formed yet. So yeah. Let's see here. Meatloaf is a good safe word. Oh my god. Because you'll do anything. Jesus, Taylor. You are hilarious. That is funny. Okay. Matt, I hope so. We'll see, man. All right. Can you show the LRC? Okay, so people are asking about how this fits into the long range pattern. So let me show you. First off, let's discuss the long range forecasting that I put out and put together. Okay. So on March the 1st every year, I issue a hurricane season forecast with WJCL Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson. It's one of our sister stations. It's available, wesh.com/hurricane forecast. Okay. We highlight hotspots and things like that. And this seemingly would fit into an area that we called the Gulf to Carolinas low. We highlighted that kind of geographic space because, during the off season, whatever happened, it always wanted to kind of cross over and then end up in the Carolinas and then make landfall again. That June one was not like a tropical system per se. It was a low. There was a storm system that did that, but it was in August that we had Debbie in that time frame, and then of course in this September 20th through the 28th time frame, we're watching it kind of recycling. So that's it fits that part of the pattern, right? The dates and the location does fit that part of the pattern. So we'll definitely have to see, how that plays out. As far as the BSR goes, this is a long range teleconnection that we use. Stop. I haven't used it in a minute, so where are we at? That would be like the 22nd, 23rd. I have to run a little math on this one. So like the 5th, 6th. Hold on. I mean, there's no clear signals of anything there. Not really. But this is more of a feature that we can use kind of wintertime. Yeah. Yeah, there's not it's just not it's yeah, the BSR isn't something that we can really use until we get into more of a synoptic pattern. So, yeah, it's not BSR is not really working for us right now. So, apologies. Yeah. Are you allowed to say sister station anymore? Oh, Yukon, Jesus. All right. Matt says, I'll buy a cold front, please. Hey, the BSR's showing them. I just don't know if I trust it yet. All right. Questions, comments, concerns, everybody. Nothing has formed yet, which means, yes, we're running the global models. They're throwing out data, but don't go freaking out. Don't go chasing waterfalls, okay? John says, thanks, Eric. The long range stuff is very interesting. It's, take it with a grain of salt, right? But we're watching the trends, and that's kind of all we're doing at this point, okay? All right, everybody good? Be the sunshine in someone else's day, would you? All right. Thanks for hanging out for Coffee Talk. Any other questions? I'll give you another couple seconds, and I got to go. I'm always chasing water. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to, okay? I'm a 90s kid. What do you want? All right. I'll talk to y'all later. I don't think I'm on TV today, so I'll be posting on the socials, building the graphics, all that stuff. Freedom561 says, who are the hypers? I keep hearing people talk about them, but I'm not seeing them. That's a good thing. Don't go looking for hype. They'll give you anxiety. You don't want that. We need to zen. Yukon, you as well, right? Yeah. All right. Be good, y'all. I'll see you later. Bye.